Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Four Intimacies podcast. I am Zoë Malcolm, and I'd like for you to join me in a place where we explore trust, connection, and intimacy. And again, if you have listened to the trailer, you will know we are exploring this with the ideas of non-judgment and acceptance. In this framework, we are learning how to accept the relationships as they are, with clear sight, clear heart, and clarity of trust in ourselves. We are all learning how to recognize these attractions and intimacies, learning how to let them knit with our heart, and to allow us to be curious and honest with ourselves, to truly trust what we feel. Trust our ability to handle whatever may come, like conflict. Healthy intimacy requires conflict. The intimacy questions are not of ease and comfort. They require friction. They ask you to face the difficulty and open up to vulnerability, all as part of the dance of intimacy. If you remember from the analogy in my previous episodes, you are molding that room, that relationship together through the practice, the dance, each step of intimacy, both of you. So trust the clarity of conflict to bring not only needed vulnerability, but a trust in your relationship, in your partner, your friend, your lover, but also a trust in your own authenticity. Last week, we talked about emotional attraction and intimacy. When we are hurt, can we be honest? The key to truly feeling seen and seeing another is through honesty. A path to heal past trauma and soothe future anxieties. We also got a beginning grounding in the imperfection of this practice and the idea of healing through and after conflict with apologies, i.e., acknowledgement and accountability. This is called repair and is critical to a healthy intimacy, to the practice of trust. We have also expanded over the last few episodes our keyword collection to include honesty. Healthy intimacy is curiosity and honesty. Now let's dive into the next attraction intimacy pair. Physical. For a lot of people, this is the fun stuff. Getting to be tactile is quite a thrill for sure. Let's break it down to its simplest form. Physical attraction. I like the way someone looks. Can be body, face, style, or walk. You enjoy the way someone moves through the world. This applies equally to the gender or genders you are sexually attracted to or not. Because physical attraction is not sexual attraction. They can be linked. They are often linked. They are not the same. Saying it louder for those in the back of the room, physical attraction is not sexual attraction. Here are some examples. And actually, these are more like tropes or stereotypes. There's definitely some social conditioning and gender norms I'm about to throw at you, but roll with me. For example, straight women and gay men, while not attracted to women, often notice how beautiful another woman is. Could be friends, co-workers, strangers, celebrities. They find them physically attractive, appreciate how they look, even wanting to touch them without the sexual component. This is physical attraction. Another example. Straight men and gay women or lesbians are not known for their outward appreciation of a man's physical qualities, but there's still an appreciation of physicality. Perhaps more from comparison, but this is still a massive generalization and oversimplification and very culturally and generationally coded. So, let's just say, we all know what it is like to appreciate the physicality and or the physical presence of someone without it having to be sexual, no matter the gender. Because while physical attraction can come off as quite visual and is used a lot in celebrity culture, for example, it can be about something almost energetic, a presence. How a person walks into the room, stands in a corner, or sits in a chair. There are so many fun ways physical attraction can show up for you. This, more than the other intimacies, revels in the diversity, multiplicity, and complexity of human expression. Between the spectrum of genders and sexual orientation and the expression of culture through mental space and physical space, I think what I love the most about physical attraction is how much it can surprise you, feel fresh, feel new, because we human beings are always finding new ways to express ourselves, to move through the world. So while we say men feel sexual attraction through physicality and women feel sexual attraction through emotionality, I want to challenge that. Partly because the terms men and women are just too simplistic for gender or culturally or linguistically for the kaleidoscope of possibilities of attraction, let alone physical attraction. I will talk more about this when we start on sexual attraction and intimacy. So if you don't mind, I'm going to put a pin in this and let's move on to physical intimacy, which has quite a different flavor from its attraction counterpart. Okay, let's get into this. First, I want to talk about physical intimacy without dividing between healthy and unhealthy. Physical intimacy is simply this: being near someone. Seems too simple, right? But the physicality of someone is not just in their looks, it is also in their presence, their physical presence in the room. We usually notice the opposite of this, i.e. when there's someone in the room we don't want to be with, then the intimacy, that closeness feels too much, even if they are across the room. Presence has a subtly different quality than physicality. Nevertheless, presence and physicality fall under this same rubric. Here are some examples of physical intimacy. Being in the same room with a friend or roommate, hanging out, watching a movie, eating lunch, are all versions of physical intimacy. Giving hugs, pats on the back, play fighting, doing hair, fixing ties, linking arms, are versions of physical intimacy. Fist fighting or physical violence are also examples of physical intimacy. And while that might sound like that should be only unhealthy, I have friends who do Aikido or Taekwondo, and so there are healthy versions of fighting or some sort of violence. But there is a difference, and the difference is in this question. So the question for healthy physical intimacy is this: when we are near each other, can we be playful? Do you feel that difference? Let's break this down. And by breakdown, I actually want to talk about consent and talk about consent as this moving boundary. So the importance of being able to differentiate between physical and sexual intimacy leads to understanding the concept of consent. Consent is also needed for the discernment between intellectual and emotional intimacy, but for the physical sexual intimacies, the range of consent is broader and more apt for confusion and pain. What is considered a physical interaction versus a sexual interaction varies for cultures, religions, families, but also for each individual person. Let me share this graphic. I think it would be here or here. But I made this graphic to represent the intimacies. I will admit, as a mathematician, I do enjoy a graph. If any of you are artists and can come up with an aesthetically more pleasing way to represent this, I am all ears. In any case, the graph format is not just for show. The axes of the graph, or the lines, are really important. They represent boundaries, the boundary between physical and psychological intimacies and attractions, as well as the concept of consent. So on one side, We have the intellectual and emotional as the psychological intimacies and interactions. And then moving from left to right, we get the physical and sexual intimacies and attractions. But the intimacies that are above the line, i.e. emotional and sexual, they require more consent to practice. And that consent need or level is different for each of us. For example, you may be more ready for an emotional intimacy than the other person, or vice versa. But in order for the intimacy to build trust, there needs to be consent that both of you are ready. I don't have a magic key or definition to help you figure out what another person wants or needs. You just have to, that's right, listen and ask. Listen to words as well as body language, but also please do ask. That is really not optional. Do not assume. It can be as simple as, is this okay? But I want to make sure you understand what you consider safe or non-invasive might not be the same for the other person or vice versa. That doesn't mean they or you can't get there, but we have to be clear regardless. When you get or give a clear yes, it can be the sexiest thing. And anything less than that is a no, a be patient, a step back. And that also builds trust. There's nothing more comforting and trustworthy than being listened to when it is a no, not for me. Setting a boundary is integral to a healthy intimacy. Having that boundary be respected lets you know that you can be yourself without fear or judgment. A yes is gorgeous. A no is powerful. And I am not just saying this for men. I have given this advice to women who had a different distinction between physical and sexual intimacy from the man they were involved with. I mean, the border was thinner for them, while for the man, that border came much sooner. So just to further debunk the idea of generalizing a gender stereotype to the person who is standing in front of you, because everyone gets confused about consent. You have to meet them where they are, literally right in front of you. And sometimes we're confused because we are not sure how we want to approach a situation ourselves. But if you are confused or unsure, you can ask and listen and say, is this okay? Or say, I am not sure. I am not sure means no. Is this okay means I want to know how you feel. Please be honest. Physical intimacy can be a wonderful playground to know how your body feels with other people, whether it trusts them or not. You're allowed to pay attention and be playful. Okay. Let's get back to physical intimacy and its question. When we are near each other, can we be playful? This might feel rather simple and perhaps obvious, but we have all seen or been couples, family members, acquaintances that when they're in the same room, the tension just rises. Nothing can be spoken or done without criticism or derision or biting sarcasm. As opposed to playful sarcasm? Regardless, they can't stand or sit next to each other, preferring to be on opposite sides of the room or the table. This is also an important intimacy or practice for that concept of repair. And this is something I mentioned in the last episode around emotional intimacy and conflict. Because if you can be playful while you're disagreeing or being emotionally vulnerable, not always appropriate, but if, it can do a lot to diffuse tension and allow for more curiosity, listening, and kindness, which makes it easier to be honest. For example, I heard this one way to handle a fight is for both of you to lay on the ground. Sounds kind of dumb, but even imagining it makes me smile. There is something playful with just lying down when you're having a fight. is definitely less threatening than standing and pointing fingers. You have to uncross your arms. You have to open up your chest to let your spine align with the floor, and then try and have a fight. Maybe some of you will succeed. In any case, this is an example of playfulness. Let's play together, laugh, enjoy each other, be soft, easy, curious, playfully honest. While prepping dinner, coming home from work, making breakfast, putting the dishes away, humor goes a long way. Playful touches, a hug, a stroke of a hand, thigh press against each other under the table as an hysterically inappropriate scene plays out at the family dinner, or hold each other tight during an intense scene while watching a movie, or hold hands when going on a walk. See if you can do any of the following for 30 seconds or more with your best friend, your favorite family member, or your lover. Just lean into each other for 30 seconds. Laugh for 30 seconds. Stare into each other's eyes for 30 seconds. Smiling happens. Sometimes giggling happens. Sometimes just a softness happens. Being playful feels easy. Life can be hard. Suffering is real. Grief will come for all of us. But being alive is such a privilege. The beauty of being human, the creativity of nature and time and air and light is all here for us. Enjoy it with others. Like love, playfulness is our birthright. Children who do not get playtime do worse in school. Their mental and psychological well-being suffers. Do you think that changes as we get older? I don't think so. Just saying. I don't actually have the research for this, but how about this? You tell me, do you think you need playtime? When we are near each other, can we be playful? Okay, journal prompts. So, usually I have questions, but this time I just want you to write down all the examples of how you and your friends, your family members, or your lovers, or those we consider family, have been playful with each other, and how it has bonded you even more. These can be loud and rambunctious moments, or quiet and sneaky moments, or tender and slow moments, or some combination thereof. Write something like a gratitude journal, but instead a playful journal or memoir. Laugh. Play your favorite and most memorable songs. Dance together. Play video games together. Skip outside together. Bake a cake together. Have a picnic. Here we are at the end of a third attraction intimacy pair. Physical attraction, physical intimacy. If you know someone who you can answer yes to all three intimacy questions, intellectual, emotional, and physical, in a healthy way, I'm pretty sure I've described your best friend. Some of the best and most important relationships we will have in our lifetimes. So here's to our best friends, teaching us about trust, love, and acceptance. I know I feel this way about my best friends. Next time, we will get into sexual intimacy. I'm sure you've been waiting for that one. Until then, be curious, honest, and playful. Hi, if you've made it this far, thank you for listening. I am Zoë Malcolm, and this is the Four Intimacies experiment, which I really hope will be a conversation for all of us. If this resonates with you at all, feel free to like, follow, or subscribe to the podcast. We are on YouTube, on the Four Intimacies channel, or wherever you can listen to your podcast. You can follow on Instagram at the Four Intimacies, or email me using thefourintimacies@gmail.com. That's a lot of ats. But if you know someone who this might resonate with, or with whom you want to talk about this, please do share. Let's be curious, honest, and playful together.